as we go. But staying in the state of Wisconsin, that is where Game 6 of the NBA Finals will be played tomorrow night, with Giannis and the Bucks looking to close out the Suns after Phoenix took the first two games of the series. Milwaukee now back in it, taking Game 3, led by Giannis with 41 points. And then in Game 4, Giannis doing it with the defense. The legendary block on DeAndre Ayton, the play where he stopped the alley and the oop. That tied things up. And then the first road victory of the series on Saturday night. Jrue Holiday, the steal. There's the alley. There's Giannis throwing down the oop. And it is the Milwaukee Bucks who took the 3-2 lead back home to Milwaukee. You should know the teams down 3-2 in the NBA Finals go on to win the series only 19% of the time. That means of the 47 teams to enter a Game 6 down 3-2, only 9 of them have become champions. The most recent, the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Warriors in 2016. If only we had someone on our show who was on that team. Oh, yes, Richard Jefferson was on that team, and he is in Milwaukee today. And here's where I want to begin, RJ. A week ago, as we just pointed out, the Bucks were on the brink. On the other side, they were down 2-0. The Suns seemed really comfortable. How did we get in a week's time from there to here?
Look, everybody has been wondering that question, because ultimately what the Bucks have done is they have just continued being so gritty. Look, they were down 2-0 to the Nets. In Game 1, that was the first game that Giannis had played in a week. And so it wasn't even the best version of him. So if you look at that, then you're like, hey, maybe this series would have been a little bit different if Giannis would have came into it healthy.
And that's exactly right. I mean, we forget because everything seems so long ago that we didn't even know if Giannis would play in this series before it began. So speaking of him, he has made huge plays on the defensive end. He's had signature plays on the offensive end in several enormous games. If he wins this thing tomorrow night, what will this playoff run have meant for Giannis's legacy?
It's going to mean so much for him, because he did it the most difficult way, to do it where you got drafted, to do it in a small market, to build to build from within. When you look at bringing in Chris Middleton and then going and getting the right pieces, going and giving the farm to get Jrue Holiday. So it's not even just Giannis. You want to give a compliment to the Bucks organization, to the fan base, but really the fact that Giannis did it the hardest way possible, that not a lot of guys do, that it's a very special opportunity and a special championship if they're able to finish it off.
And how about this performance in particular through 5 games so far? You've played with and against some of the greatest players in NBA history in the finals: Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. How would you stack up what we've seen from Giannis in these 5 games in terms of what you've seen in your career?
Impressive, but expected, right? Like he is a person that is so talented that when you put him on the floor, even on an average day, he's going to have 25 and 15. So, for him to raise his level, which he has done, getting multiple 40-point games, having games where he shoots the ball well from the free throw line, making defensive plays, making offensive plays. When you look at all of the greatest players in history, and Giannis is up there, 2-time MVP, one of 3 players to win the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. All of these awards, he's doing what those awards show, right? Michael Jordan with the steal and the game-winning shot, like all of these things that you see from great players, and Giannis is a part of that group.
Look, he's one win away from being a 26-year-old 2-time MVP and finals MVP, which he certainly figures to be if they win this quickly. On the other side, Chris Paul coming into this with his best chance to finally win a championship, and it has just gone sideways for him since Game 1. What do you see there, and what does he need to do tomorrow night for the Suns to win?
Well, it's so funny is that the formula will always be tweaked a little bit, but you got to stick with it. Chris Paul has always done a great job first through 3 quarters, getting everybody involved, making sure Devin Booker had a rhythm, make sure that bench was moving, the ball was popping, and then come in the 4th quarter, Chris Paul has dominated 4th quarters, dominated that third, the end of the third, beginning of the 4th, dominated the last 5 minutes. If he's not able to do that, then even with Devin Booker putting up historic numbers, especially for a player in their first postseason. I just don't really see the Phoenix Suns being able to do it. And I think that's been the biggest issue for the Suns is Chris Paul hasn't really taken over late in games like he's done all postseason.
All right, RJ, stay close by. We'll have much more.
MJ went through that. LeBron went through that. All those things is part of being great.
You cannot keep me down. Flex on him, Giannis.
We are built for this. Job is not done.
You cannot keep me
Giannis Antetokounmpo putting up historically great numbers and one win away from a championship. Cassidy Hubbarth gets up early with us this morning in our studio, and RJ rejoins us from Milwaukee. And Cass, there's been so much talk about what Giannis has done on the floor, but the mindset he has brought to this, I think, is actually just as interesting.
Yeah, he's not only having an all-time performance, averaging 32, shooting over 60% from the floor, but how he's giving us insight to his mindset is also worth celebrating. For instance, on that alley-oop, he said that he thought that wasn't the right basketball player, and he even thanked Drew Holiday for trusting him in the moment. But he said that like he just was so present in the moment that's what he wanted to experience. And that in the moment mindset, it's something he's been preaching really not only these whole finals, which he admitted that he thought he was done for the year just 2 weeks ago after his knee bent backwards. But in general, just that in the moment mindset is something that he's really given us insight to. And after game 4, he just had a beautiful description of how he's staying present. Take a listen to this.
When you focus on the past, that's your ego. I did this. We were able to beat this team 4-0. I did this in the past. I won that in the past. And when I focus in the future, is my pride. Like, yeah, next game 5, I do this and this and this. I'm going dominant. That's your pride talking. Like, it doesn't happen. Like, you're right here. And I kind of like try to focus in the in the moment, in the present, and that's humility.
And look, he has to win to solidify this, but for me, he already has 3 finals moments: the block, the alley-oop. And as a member of the media, to get that type of insight from Giannis there, that to me was also a finals moment. And he's one of the most probable stories of a superstar we've seen in the NBA. And he's not only embracing this finals moment on the court, but also off the court. Every aspect of being a superstar right now.
He's so easy to root for also. I mean, taking your allegiance in the series out of it, he makes himself very easy to root for. So let's talk about legacy. This is the time of year, Richard Jefferson, where players' legacies are made and are cemented. Again, he's not yet 27 years old. He has 2 regular season MVPs. Is 1 win away from being the finals MVP. What would this mean for his legacy?
Well, that he was one of the guys that did it the hard way. In a small market where you got drafted. That is a very, very difficult thing to do in Milwaukee, which is not typically a free agent destination. For him to show up there and just not only just build the franchise up, look at what he's done to his body. Look at what he's done to his mentality. Even giving us insight to Cassidy's point on his free throws. He's like, I might make some, but I'm going to keep going. And that's one of those things where you see and you're like, oh, he's different. This man, and I love what he said in that soundbite, he's present. Not about what he did in the past. No one cares. It's not about what you did, what you're going to do in the future, because that's your pride. It's about purely being present, and he has done a great job of that this year.
His numbers literally are historically good. In the meantime, let's go to the other superstar in this series. And if Chris Paul gets this close at this
happened where they were up 3-0 and lost or something along that. I've always believed that Chris Paul was one of the great point guards of this generation. You were hoping that he could get that cherry on top, that championship to seal it. But, look, they weren't favored coming into this series. Obviously, they weren't the best team coming into this series. I really do believe that the Milwaukee Bucks are the more talented team. They're the better team. But the reason why so many people were picking Phoenix is because Phoenix played a beautiful brand of basketball. So your choices were a team that played a better brand of basketball and a better basketball team. And right now, the Milwaukee Bucks have been raising their level. And the Phoenix Suns are having trouble matching it because they don't have nearly the amount of talent.
Yeah, RJ, I mean, I agree. Ultimately, I think Chris Paul's legacy is going to be he's one of the great leaders that this game has ever seen. I don't think that changes whether they win or not. But really, it's the juxtaposition of Giannis, who's gone straight Neo, where things have slowed down for him, and he's seeing the game so clearly at age 26, beginning of his prime, if you will. He's already said that, he plans to be on this stage for the next 10 to 12 years compared to a 36-year-old Chris Paul. The league there's a lot of parity in this league right now. The pressure is high on him, and he said